What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 148. And today we're going to finish up the week that was in week number 16. With me from right down that hallway, surviving the COVID scare within Bigs HQ with me, he's a three-time champion and our commissioner, Ben Nisman. Benny, how you feeling this morning, my friend?
Feeling good, Joe. Happy to be in isolation for the fourth consecutive show. 4 days. This is unprecedented. I don't think I've ever done 4 straight days of shows, but it's been a great time and we've broken down a lot. We've given them a lot of content and a whole lot more to come. So, as always, Joe, please lead us off, my man.
Let's get going and finish up this marathon of shows. We're going to kick this thing off with Bobby Russo taking a 15-5 loss to Josh Haber at the worst possible time for him. What'd you see here, my friend, when you break down this particular matchup?
I felt like Bobby was going to make this thing a lot closer. But somehow, towards the end of the weekend, Josh just put the hammer down. And obviously, there probably were some mistakes that Bobby made as far as the starting pitchers he selected to go in and throw. Lorenzen wasn't pretty. Austin Gomber wasn't very good. There were a couple. I feel like Bobby did kind of what he had to. He was digging him, but he had to take a shot. He was getting beaten pretty good.
Yeah, he was down 14-2 going into Sunday. He was able to flip the innings. He was able to give away the losses. He was able to take strikeouts, relief appearances, and as well, home runs were tied and walks were tied. So Josh took the walks, Bobby took the home runs. Close categories this week. Josh wins by 3 doubles, 2 steals, 2 walks by a pitcher, a strikeout by a batter, a walk, and 2 losses. Bobby wins by 2 home runs by a hitter, 5 strikeouts by a pitcher, and a relief appearance. They tied in saves. For Josh on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 6 for 22.
Uh, God, 6 for 24, 250, 268.
272, real close there as we start this one. Now, he benched most of his offense on Sunday, so it does boost up the numbers here a little bit. He ends up having 3 runs and 3 home runs, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. But again, much of that was on Sunday when he benched out most of his hitters to try to avoid the strikeout. He used only 3 ads this week. That's not true. He used about 7 of them. He dropped Austin Gomber for Yariel Rodriguez, 5 2/3. A walk, 6 strikeouts, a 3.18, and an 0.53 against Tampa. He drops Verdugo for Pierce Johnson for a clean relief appearance. Dropped Jorge Soler for Kobe Mayo, who is an NA. Dropped Yu Darvish for Gavin Lux, 0 for 1. Dropped Yariel Rodriguez for Pedro Avila, who had a clean relief appearance. Dropped Pierce Johnson for Tyler Ferguson, who gave him a save and a relief appearance. Dropped Jake Berger for Jared Koenig for a bad relief appearance. Dropped Hayden Birdsong for Rob Refsnyder, who was on the bench and homered. And finally dropped Pedro Avila for Tyler Alexander, who did not pitch, even though he was expected to. He never made it into the game. The MVP this week for Josh is Lawrence Butler. 400 of the 444, 7 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 2 steals, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Lawrence Butler. What team does he play for, Ben?
Trying to cheat before you ask me the question, just to look. He plays for the Oakland Athletics.
He does. He plays center and right for the Oakland Athletics. Might be the only guy left there that is worth rostering, but here we are with him being a player of the week. The least valuable hitter this week goes to Willie Castro, 143 with a 217. 2 runs, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, and 2 errors. Ugly on both of those. The Cy Young this week goes to Max Scherzer, surprisingly enough, who pitched 6 innings, a win, a walk, 9 strikeouts, a 150, and an 067. And the Cy Young goes to Yohan Duran, an inning and 2/3, a win, a loss, 2 walks, a strikeout, a 16-20, and a 240 across 2 different relief appearances. Not a great week for Duran. For Bobby on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 1 for 12.
Wow. 67.
It's 083.
Oh,
2 runs, a homer, an RBI, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So 2 walks is the only thing that plays here. Bobby surprising us all, going with all 10 moves this week. He drops nobody for Ahmed Rosario, 2 for 4 with a strikeout. Drops Nick Martinez for Dylan Moore, 0 for 3 with a walk. Adds Jose Siri, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Drops Siri for Leody Taveras, 0 for 3 with an RBI and a strikeout. Drops Taveras for Michael Lorenzen, who was horrible against Toronto. Dropped Genesis Cabrera for Drew Smiley, who never appeared. He dropped Dylan Moore for Tyler McGill, who was serviceable but bad and took the loss, gave up 3 bombs against Atlanta. He drops Will Benson for Mitch Spence, who was good against the Angels. He drops McGill for Austin Gomber, who was awful against San Francisco. Drops Lorenzen for Osvaldo Bido, who was very, very terrible against the Angels. His MVP this week is going to be Vlad Guerrero Jr. 474 with a 560 on base, 8 runs, a double, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, Jake Cronenworth, 115 with a 207, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, with a shout out to Sal Frelick, who hit 071 for the week. The Cy Young goes to Michael King, 6 1/3, a win, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, a 284 and an 063. And the Cy Young goes to any of those dudes that I just mentioned, whether it be Michael Lorenzen or Osvaldo Bido or any of the other clowns that he streamed. Worst possible time, in my opinion, for Bobby to get a triple up loss like this, Benjamin. He's fighting for a playoff spot, ends up eating 15-5 here, dropping him under 500 by a considerable margin. He was only over by a couple of games when he took this loss, so it's a bad look for him this week. How are you feeling about his playoff chances, and do you think he's going to be able to make it through?
I think he can. We got to remember that this score was really, really ugly going into Sunday. I mean, he only had 2, right? This could have ended up being something like 16-2 or 17-2 or even 18-2. And he found a way to grab relief appearances. He forced his way to get innings and strikeouts. So right there, it's a small win, right? I realize it's a triple up, but it is a small victory. 16-4 is worse than 15-5. Even 15-4, if he just tied relief appearances, that would be worse than what happened. Like, he ended up getting that extra category. He's got Frank right now. I feel like that's a decent matchup for Bobby. And then it's Jason, Mike Haber, Bryan Lebo, Henry Collins, and he finishes against me. It's not ideal. Here's the thing. We talked about how brutal this schedule was going to get after Kostas. That's when he had to face you, Joe, and then Josh, and then everyone else that I mentioned. But the problem is that he took a 15-5 loss to Kostas before that ugly schedule. And so far in this schedule that we've discussed, he's lost 14-6 to Joe, and he's lost 15-5 to Josh. He's got, I would say, 2 more matchups that really, really matter, though. On the last one against me, it might be too late, but I would say that second to last matchup against Henry, that might be one of the most critical weeks for both of these managers, where they both might be very close in the standings, and one of them is just trying to leapfrog the other going into the final week. So I do believe that Bobby does have the time to turn this around, and he definitely has the skill and the team to turn this around, more so than I can say for like a Jimmy or a Henry. I actually think that Bobby's roster can do it. It's really about who he's matched up against. But a lot of this story is just the attempts from Bobby that just kind of blew up in his face pitching wise.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I told Kostas, when I restructured that deal with Marte and Doyle and Julio Rodriguez, that the right guy, the logical guy to drop in that deal would have been Fernando Cruz, or a reliever that came in the day prior or 2 days in a row, not Lorenzen. because Lorenzen's a starting pitcher and he could be a gem. He could also be a hand grenade for the next person that picks him up. And that's kind of how I felt when it's like, okay, Lorenzen was the initial guy being dropped. He has to be the guy dropped when we finish off restructuring this deal. And in my mind, I thought, man, Lorenzen can end up on Joe's team and he ends up being an amazing pitcher, or he can end up on Michael Sherman's team and he gets rocked. So I kind of felt like this is a guy you just don't know. It's a coin flip anytime you pick him up. Little did I know that Kostas would be throwing out a hand grenade that could have potentially blown Russo's season. I can't say for sure, but we might look back on it. Just we might look back on this match of 15-5 and say, if only Bobby didn't stream Lorenzen, if only Kostas never dropped Lorenzen, maybe Bobby is competing in the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean there was Lorenzen, there was Osvaldo Beto, and there was Tyler McGill. Those three were really bad for him this week,
Yeah,
and it shows in the result. I mean, this is a
yeah.
terrible time. Bobby's in full on free fall at this point. You talked about the 2 losses he took before this to Costas and myself. Now here we are, 15-5. He's got to put the brakes on this thing in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, at least he's got the manager right now who can do it against. If not this week against Frank, Jason. Jason's hot right now, but he's still been a struggling manager all season. So this is an opportunity for him to get right in that he does face Frank, Jason, Bryan, Lebo. Not ideal because they're all hardworking managers, but his
Mhm.
roster should compete against these guys. And I just remember him texting me after the Lorenzen start and said, this guy may have just cost me my season. And I just reminded him, listen, 6 weeks left. There's a lot of time here.
Plenty of time indeed. And don't look now, but Josh Haber is a game and a half back of his brother and hunting that #1 spot this year.
Mhm.
Look out for this guy over the final 6 weeks here and see what he's
Yeah.
capable of doing.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll get that #1 spot. If I had to guess, looking at schedule, I feel like Mike Haber is more in the driver's seat to take that #1 spot. Josh finishes here with Joe, Frank, Jason, Mike Haber, Ryan Lebo, and Henry Collins. It is not an easy last 6 weeks for Josh.
Not hardly, but it's going to be a fun one to watch. And Josh, I got you this week, buddy. So best of luck to you. Day 1 belongs to me. Let's jump to the next matchup here. Another surprise upset here and a big beatdown from Bryan Lebo on Adam Lowenstein, 16-4 this week. What did you see, Ben?
Yeah, Adam just ruined his pitching staff very, very early in the matchup, throwing the pitchers that just continue to blow up, and then said, you know what, the hell with it. I might as well just start everyone now. And this was great composure from Bryan Lebo, where I feel like in the past, would just attempt to like boat race, and he certainly did. They end up tying strikeouts. He wins innings pitched by 14, but maintains that 2.55 ERA and a 1.03 WHIP. This was pretty solid work for Bryan.
No doubt. Bryan put up exactly the kind of week that you like to see from a spoiling team here against a guy in the hunt. Going into Sunday, it was 16-3, comes out 16-4. Bryan had a 1 doubles advantage, and Adam took that. Adam had a 1 win advantage, and Bryan was able to flip that on its ear. And at the same time, Adam untied losses in the wrong direction. Bryan had a 4 strikeouts by a pitcher advantage. They did tie there, like you said, and relief appearances were tied. Bryan took that down at the end. For Lebo on his bench this week, Benjamin, it is a 3-4-6.
Wow. Weird.
Nice easy 500 for you. 2 runs, a homer, an RBI, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and none of it plays. None of it
Huh.
plays.
I mean, I'm looking at his team right now. He typically, I guess he does kind of play with the bench in general, but they've been injured or just traded. So that probably is what happened a lot of last week, where he just didn't really have to play with the bench, where typically I feel
Yep.
like he does.
Yeah. Yeah. For his moves this week, he used all 10. He dropped Ben Lively for Adam Ottavino, who was horrible. He dropped Jesse Chavez for Eric Swanson, who was a clean relief appearance, and Miguel Andujar 1-for-5 with a strikeout. He dropped Andujar for Tony Santillan, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, and a relief appearance. Drops Heston Kjerstad for Aaron Savale, 5 1/3, 3 strikeouts, a 3.38, and a 1.31 against Miami. And then drops Andrew Heaney, Adam Ottavino, and Ryan Fernandez for Austin Hayes, 1-for-4 with a run, a steal, and a strikeout. Hunter Stratton, who did not appear, and Danny Young, who gave us 2 clean relief appearances. He dropped Aaron Savale for Cooper Criswell, who gave him a bad relief appearance, and Danny Young for Jesse Chavez, who did not appear. His MVP this week is the namesake. It is the Yepez Dispensers. He is Juan Yepez, 348 with a 346 on base, 4 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 8 RBIs, and only 2 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is JT Realmuto, 071 with a 188 on base, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. The MVP the Cy Young rather, goes to Hunter Green, who is once again the number 3 on this team, and that's really nice to have. 14 innings, a win, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 0.57. And Ryan Fernandez is, in fact, the Cy Young, an inning and 2/3, a win, a loss, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 16-20, and a 240 across 2 relief appearances. Benjamin on the other side for Adam Lowenstein. He goes 8 for 22.
It's that close. So I guess it's something like 346.
You had the numbers right, just in the wrong order. 364.
64.
Yep. 2 runs, a steal, a walk, 7 strikeouts, and none of it plays at all. And it doesn't look like he used very many moves. In fact, he used 6. He dropped Michael Conforto for Tyler Freeman, 3-for-4 on the bench. He dropped DJ Hers for Justin Henry Malloy, 0-for-5 with 3 strikeouts. He dropped Tyler Freeman for Kike Hernandez, 0-for-1, 2 runs, 3 walks, and a strikeout. He dropped Marco Gonzalez for Jorge Polanco, 1-for-4 with a run, a stolen base, and a strikeout, but left with a knee injury. He added Hunter Renfroe, 1-for-4 with 2 RBIs and 2 strikeouts, and Alex Faedo for a bad opening appearance. He took the loss in 1 inning. The MVP this week is probably the only other guy worth rostering on the Oakland Athletics. His name is Brent Rooker, 321 with a 345 on base, 5 runs, a double, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 steals, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is Jonathan India, 053 with a 136 on base, a run, an RBI, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to pretty much nobody because he didn't pitch all that well. I mean, he had an ERA, what was that, north of 6 across 53 innings? Not exactly all that great.
Maybe?
Yeah, I guess Robbie Ray could count here. Coming back from the IL, giving him 5 innings, a win, 8 strikeouts, a 180, and an 040. Yeah, that'll work. Work. The Cy Young definitely goes to
only 2 walks. Like, for his first start back.
Serviceable start for San Francisco. Good to have Mr. Tight Pants back in the bigs. The Cy Young goes to Nick Pivetta, whose ERA was north of 23 with a 375 whip. 2 homers, a loss over 2 2/3, but he did have 6 nice strikeouts. So there was that.
Okay.
Adam is now sitting in the 11th spot. He is just about 17 games under 500. Can we add him to the pile of teams whose season is just about over?
I normally would not, but I feel like, number 1, his schedule. Number 2 is his gameplay. I wouldn't even say that his roster can't do it, because when I look at the top of this list and I see Adam's name pretty strong in a lot of these categories that are pretty high up, he's number 1 in our league in on-base percentage by a decent margin. I'm second with a 340. He has a 351 on-base percentage. I find that really impressive. Also, Adam is leading our league in doubles, 219 doubles so far. Second is Mike Haber, 204. So he actually has 15 doubles ahead of the second place team. You want runs? Yeah, Adam is second place in runs. Cody is first with 525. Adam is only 4 behind with 521. So I look at some of these offensive numbers where he dominates in, and you'd think The guy should be a little bit stronger, but dude, he's last in our league in ERA. 4.64 ERA. That is 16th place. And by the way, 15th place is Adam with a 4.3. So it's a third of a run more than Frank right now at 4.64. I mean, that is a really, really disappointing ERA. Even because I look at mine and I'm like, I think about all these horrible pitching performances that I've had week to week, and yet still I'm ahead of this guy in a couple of categories. Adam is second to last in whip. I'm just in front of him with a 1.27. Ken is a 1.34, and Frank is a 1.35 as last. So I'm just like in general looking, and I feel that pitching was a big part of his issue all season. The rest of his schedule is Henry, me, Ari, Jimmy, Cody, Joe.
That is a
Besides
murderer's row.
besides Ari being squished in the middle of these, I just between Adam's pitching, the schedule, his gameplay, the fact that he doesn't use all 10 ads every week, I feel like he's missed some opportunities part throughout the season. So yeah, I would add him to the pile, but you never know. Obviously, if he gets a big win on Henry this week, let's say he beats him something like 15-4, he gets like plus 11 or even plus 9, then we can discuss it a little bit more because then he faces me. If I'm a cold manager, maybe he can take me going into the matchup with Ari. So think of it hypothetically. He beats Henry, he beats me, he beats Ari with Jimmy, Cody, and Joe left, then you might start having the conversation. But he's got a lot of work to do before we even talk about it.
Yeah, he's got to put a win streak together in a hurry here, and it's not looking like it's going to be a downhill battle for him. He's got quite the murderer's row of managers to go through between now and the end of the season if he wants to make the promised land.
Yeah, and you got to give Bryan Lebo a lot of credit here. Like, we talked
Hell
about it
yeah.
yesterday, but
Hell yeah.
like if you it's a bit of an oversight for me to not put him in managers of the week yesterday. But if you want to give him number one, like Jason did, totally deserving of it. Very, very skilled. And the fact that he went with his boat racing on innings and strikeouts and wins, and he still maintains that nice low ERA, lets Adam make the first mistake and every other mistake going forward. Bryan played this extremely well.
No doubt. No doubt. A great spoiling season. And you know what? Don't look now. He's inside the consolation bracket. He knows he wants to play a little bit more this season after not making anything last year. Let's move on to the third matchup this week, Benjamin. We're going to talk about another blowout win. This one helping out a guy get to sixth overall and into the playoff picture right now. Henry Collins taking down a 13-5 win over Cody Piatt. What'd you see?
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit yesterday when I gave Henry second place in managers of the week. What I saw was a Monday that looked like something that I have actually never seen before in fantasy baseball. I mean, maybe it's happened. I mean, this is the 20th season for us, so something like this could have happened. But Joe, I've never seen a Monday like this. We're talking about as good of a Monday that I mean, listen, you can we've seen 17 RBIs, right? Um we've definitely seen at least 6 or 7 home runs in a day. Um we've seen very high batting averages. I'm sure we've gotten something close to a 500 batting average in the past. Um but the way Henry actually filled out the stat sheet on this day, it's just something I don't even ever recall seeing. So I'm going to break it down for you. I did it yesterday, but I'll do it again if anyone didn't see the show. 18 for 31 is a 581 average and a 639 on base. 13 runs, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 2 steals, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. On the pitching side, he had 3 2/3 scoreless with a 0.27 ERA, 4 strikeouts, no walks, no home runs. If you look at the matchup itself, you'll see that it is pretty lopsided. However, if you really dig into it, you're gonna you're gonna see that everything was pretty darn close. I mean, Cody wins by one walk. They tie in strikeouts. Um, yeah, the batting average, the whole thing. Joe, dig into these close stats right now because we're gonna dig into this matchup a lot.
Yeah, man. It ends up 13-5. It was 14-5 going in. And on Sunday, Henry led by a triple, and Cody was able to tie that up at 4. Go figure. Walks were tied, and Cody took that. Cody led by a strikeout, and he ends up tying that category. So close categories this week. Henry wins by 4 ticks on the batting average, 2 ticks on the on-base percentage, a home run given up by a pitcher, 4 ticks on the whip. Cody wins by a walk by a hitter and a loss. And they tied in triples, walks by strikeouts by a batter, and wins. For Henry on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 11 for 38.
Um, 79.
289. Very nice. 4 runs, 3 doubles, a steal, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. The 2 walks would have had to get in, and he would have had to be perfect with them. His moves this week, it looks like about 6. He drops Elias Diaz for Landon Knack, who was good against San Francisco. Drops Landon Knack for Carson Fulmer, who was okay against Oakland. He drops Carson Fulmer for Tyler Phillips, a complete game shutout. 9 innings, a win, a walk, 4 strikeouts against Cleveland. And he adds Ryan Feltner, 6 innings, a homer, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, a 150 and a 133 against San Francisco. He drops Feltner for Gilbert Diaz, who threw 5 shutout innings with 4 walks and 7 strikeouts against Pittsburgh. 5 starters, all of them good. The worst one being Carson Fulmer, 476 and an 088 against Oakland. Well done, Henry. That was a really great pitching week for you. The MVP this week is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. because, of course, it is. 417 with a 462 on base, 6 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, a homer, 5 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. But there were a ton of guys to talk about here. Profar had 4 homers and 8 RBIs. De La Cruz had 2 homers and 6 RBIs and hit 330. You know, there was a number of guys. Austin Wells, 471 with a 565 on base with 2 homers and 4 RBIs. He absolutely murdered the ball this week and got a lot of offensive categories. His least valuable hitter is going to be Jose Iglesias, 100 with a 182, 2 runs, a triple, an RBI, and 4 strikeouts. The triple certainly does, however, play big, as he had to have 4 in order to tie the category. His Cy Young goes to Tyler Phillips, who threw that complete game shutout. His Cy Yuck goes to Freddie Peralta, 5 1/3, a loss, 2 bombs, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 506 and a 206 whip. Again, he threw to a 277 with a 113 whip. It was a really good pitching week across the board for Henry.
Yeah, and unbelievably, he doesn't even win those categories, So
Correct.
Well, my mistake. He does win whip, but he doesn't.
He wins whip, but yeah, the ERA of 277 doesn't win this category. Amazing.
Right.
Amazing. For Cody on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 3 for 23.
No. 3 for 30, 100. 171.
130. With 4 runs, a triple, a homer, an RBI, 8 walks, and 6 strikeouts. He had a triple from Corbin Carroll on Sunday out of the lineup. Not sure why. He also benched a complete game win from Kevin Gossman on Saturday, which would have tied the wins category, or would have won him the wins category for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He used 9 moves this week. He adds Ha-Sung Kim for Trent Thornton, 1 for 4. He drops Aaron Savale for Dylan Floro for a clean relief appearance. Drops Dean Kramer for Sam Mole for a clean relief appearance and a win. He drops Lucas Ursig for Nick Sandlin for a bad relief appearance, and drops Jason Hayward for JJ Bleday, 3 for 4 with a double and an RBI. He drops JJ Bleday for Taylor Rogers for a clean relief appearance. Drops Nick Sandlin for Porter Hodge, who didn't play. Sam Mole for Willie Abreu, who didn't play, and Taylor Rogers for Jake Cousins, who was added after the game started. The MVP this week goes to Xander Bogaerts, 583 with a 615 on base percentage, 7 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, a homer, 4 RBIs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Holy shit, a 583 batting average. That's insane. The least valuable hitter goes to Gunnar Henderson, 174 with a 296 on base, a run, a double, an RBI, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 5 errors. 5 errors by himself. Yikes. Yikes. The Cy Young goes to possibly by now traded Tariq Skubal, 14 innings, 2 wins, a homer, 3 walks, 14 strikeouts, a 193 and a 129. The Cy Yuck goes to Nick Sandlin, whose ERA was 27 over 2/3 of an inning with a bomb. But again, a 2.38 ERA wins him that category this week. Hell of a pitching week for you, Cody.
Yeah, incredible. Both of these guys pitched so brilliantly, and they both hit so well. Like Cody loses average with a 304. He loses on base percentage with a 381. Then he had 30 runs and he couldn't take that category because Henry had 37. This was two Warriors this week. What else can I say? Except that when I saw, firstly, when I'm watching what's going on with Henry's team on Monday, and him and I are texting, I just kept taking screenshots of the day because it kept getting better. And I was like, okay, let me take a picture now. I'm sure like he'll start making some outs soon. And this was before even Kepler's game started. He had the later game. And it kept going even when that final game started. I'm like, you know what? I'm done taking pictures. It's just continuing to get better, and it'll be fun to see what's going on Monday. And then, sure enough, Cody just responds. He like continued to fight back, and it's not like his Monday was horrendous. He batted 308 on Monday. He just didn't have 11 runs or whatever, 13 runs, whatever Henry had. He Cody batted 314 on Tuesday. He batted 265 on Wednesday. Across the board, he was hitting great. It was just that Henry got into such a great lead on Monday that it was going to take some sort of slump that we kind of expected to happen. And sure, he slowed down a little, but not a ton here, not a ton. And I'm just wondering, like, firstly, is Henry's team for real? Is Cody's team for real? Is one of these teams jumping into the top 6? Are both of them going to be in the top 6 this year? That leaves me out. But Cody finished this year with me, then Ari, Jimmy, Joe, Adam, and Jay Ferraro. Not very easy at all. You see that Ari is in there. Maybe he can deal with that. Adam as well. So those are a couple of outs that he has. Henry, he's got Adam, then Jay, Mike Sherman, Kostas, Bobby and Josh. I can't ask for a better schedule than that. If I'm him, I'm psyched. I got Ari and Mike Sherman in my final 6, and he's over 500 right now. So all he's got to do is take care of Adam, and Henry's in pretty decent shape.
I think so too, and I think Henry's got an inside track here to make one of the 6 spots here. Cody's got a little bit of work to do, but he has opened up a little bit more of an advantage through the first 16 weeks here. So we've got a bit of a race, shall we say, between 4 and I'd say about 8 in order to get in this year. Going to be really, really interesting to see what comes down the final few weeks here. Cody has got his work cut out for him. Henry, it's all right in front of him. He's just got to take care of his own business.
Yeah, well, both of them have that same scenario here. And in fact, when I spoke to Cody right before our matchup, he was nice enough to text me and wish me luck. He referenced Aaron Boone in 2022, and he said it's right in front of us. So I believe in Cody because his focus is so there. We talked about how he's leading our league in runs with 525. He's basically at the top of a lot of these offensive stats, not so much with Henry. So if I could say one thing, it's that Henry is the biggest competition against Henry. Like if he doesn't overthink it, if he plays his game, if he takes care of the spoilers, and then does something with this offense in some regard to keep it hot, he should be all right.
We will see. The trade deadline looms, and we'll see if either of these guys have one more trick up their sleeve to solidify these teams before they move on. Let's talk about the final matchup here, Benjamin, and let's get this thing wrapped up. We're going to talk about the matchup between Frank Bucco and Kostas Paragios. We wait for it every single year, and here it is once again. What'd you see this week?
Yeah, so this was a pretty tight matchup, and then I saw it kind of going back and forth, and then it took the final night game in order for Costas to grab this win. Uh, yeah, listen, I have no idea where Costas's team is going to go, but it's got to get to 500 first if he's going to make a charge here, and it's got to be soon.
No doubt, no doubt. On Sunday, it was 10-9 in Kostas' favor going in. It comes out 10-9. I'm sorry. It was 12-8 Kostas going in. It's 10-9 coming out. On Sunday, Frank led by 1 walk, and Kostas tied that up. Kostas led by 12 and 2/3 innings. Frank got that. Kostas led by 2 wins. Frank tied that. Saves were tied, and Frank got one on Sunday to win that category and take it away from Kostas. So there's the changes on Sunday. Close categories, Kostas wins by 3 home runs by a hitter, a loss, and 2 relief appearances. Frank wins by 2 runs, 3 stolen bases, an error, and a save. They tied in walks by a hitter and wins. For Kostas on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 3 for 30.
Oh my God, something that's actually perfect. 100.
Terrific. With 3 runs, an RBI, 2 stolen bases, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts, and a relief win from Chapman, who was on the bench. So he ends up losing or tying that category rather than taking the win. The runs would have played. The walk certainly would have played. The walk is on, looks like Wednesday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday, respectively. His moves this week, he trades Bryson Stott away for Seth Lugo, who goes 6 1/3, a loss, a homer, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, an 8.53 and a 1.11 against Chicago Cubs. He drops Brian Hayes for Angel Zerpa for a clean relief appearance. He drops Tyler Stevenson for Joe Mantiply for a clean relief appearance. He drops Zerpa for Lucas Sims for a clean relief appearance. He drops Joe Mantiply for Jacob Latz for a clean relief appearance. He drops Lucas Sims for Mike Yastrzemski, 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. He drops Keibert Ruiz for Jacob Stallings, 0 for 2. Drops Joey Ortiz for Sean Jelly, clean relief appearance. And finally on Sunday, drops Mackenzie Gore for Randy Vasquez, who was terrible in Baltimore. Drops Sean Jelly for Jake McCarthy, 1 for 4 with 2 runs, a triple, an RBI, and a strikeout. And finishes it out dropping Jacob Latz for Geraldo Perdomo, 0 for 5 with a strikeout. His MVP this week is Ketel Marte. That trade piece that he got for Julio Rodriguez, 444 with a 478 on base, 7 runs, a double, 4 homers, 11 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, new Met Jesse Winker, 176 with a 263 on base percentage, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to Tyler Alexander. Nope, Tyler Anderson. That's who that is. Tyler Anderson, 12 2/3. A loss, a homer, 2 walks, 18 strikeouts, a 284 and an 087. The Cy Young goes to Randy Vasquez, who was horrible in his start against Baltimore. For Frank on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 3 for 20.
Okay. It's actually pretty surprising that he actually had that many at bats on the bench. 2 for 20 would be 100. 3 for 20 is 3 for 20 is 111, 116.
So 2 for 20 is 100, and 4 for 20 is 200.
150.
There you go. Nailed it.
Thanks, Joe, for the last
You're
one.
welcome, buddy. A run, a double, an RBI, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. The 2 walks would have played. They tied in that category. Let's see. He used all 10 of his ads this week. He started off by dropping Cater Montero for Eugenio Suarez, 1 for 3 with an RBI and 2 strikeouts. He dropped Cam Boozer for Jacob Young, over 2. He dropped Suarez for Chase McDermott, who was horrible against Miami. He dropped McDermott for Donovan Solano, 2 for 4 with a run and a strikeout. Dropped Josh Winkowski for Taylor Saucedo, who didn't see the field. And he dropped Josh Stammen for Trevor Richards, who was horrible in his relief appearance. He dropped Richards for Dylan Lee, who didn't see the field. Dropped Solano for Tyler Stevenson, 1 for 3 with a walk. Dropped Ben Rortvedt for Masataki Yoshida, 1 for 3, 3 RBIs and a walk. And finally finished it off dropping Zach Kelly for Joe Mantiply, who was very bad in his relief appearance. His MVP this week goes to Jackson Merrill, 435 with a 423 on base percentage, 5 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. This kid could really end up being the NL Rookie of the Year. 284 average, 12 homers, 11 steals, 52 RBIs, and 47 runs scored so far this season, dude.
Very impressive.
So surprising. So surprising. The least valuable hitter goes to Brendan Donovan. 087 with a 125, only a walk and 2 strikeouts. What a bad week. Ryan McMahon also hit 063 with 6 strikeouts.
Awful. And I feel like Ryan McMahon was getting regular playing time. Like, I don't think Donovan was playing every day for him, whereas Ryan McMahon is his regular third baseman. And yeah, he's been really cold. He's got like a 260-something average, but these last 2 months at least have been horrendous for McMahon.
Yeah, very bad. Simeon Woods Richardson is going to be the Cy Young, 6 innings, nothing earned, 5 strikeouts and a walk with an 067 whip. The Cy Young goes to Charlie Morton or Hicks or Morihone or a bunch of guys who were just not very good. Trevor Richards was very bad. Chase McDermott was bad. Charlie Morton had a 16.88 ERA because he faced the Mets and got blown up. It was just a bad week all around for Frank. He pitched to a 5.55 ERA and a 163 whip. Didn't win either of those categories. Only won innings and saves this week. So that was a rough luck. Both of these guys seem to think that they've got a shot if they can go on a run here. Is there a chance that they could go on a run? What's the schedules look like?
Well, firstly, just to respond to that, Joe. I don't know how Frank could think that he's still in this thing. I mean, he's got a long ways to get to 500, let alone to get what I think is going to need to be something like 15 over to get in this year. Frank finishes our season with Bobby, Josh, Joe Schubert, Jason, Mike Haber, Bryan Lebo.
Not great.
No, not great. And he's lost 3 in a row. And if you want to say like, well, I believe that he could make a comeback because he won his last 3 or because he beat. I mean, losing to Sherman here 11-9 and then losing to the Kostas here 10-9. Yeah, he's only -3 in those couple of weeks, but those are managers that are a little more beatable this season. Now you get into Bobby, Josh, Joe, Jason, Mike Haber, Lebo. Those are your tougher matchups. So it's not looking good, but I respect the fact that Frank is so tenacious. He's just going to continue to try no matter what. And I'm very, very confident that he can find a way to beat some of these guys. Obviously, the guys that are on top are kind of hoping for him to do that. I know he's not thrilled when we kind of request, come on, let's get this. We need this from you because he's himself pissed off that he's had a struggling season. But look, I've said this a couple of times on the show. You said it a couple of times. Jason has said it a couple of times. Frank is Frank's worst victim, like his own nightmare, basically, because I feel like if we look back at Frank's draft, we look at that exact team and the team that he has now constructed, I wonder if even he, going into the season, would say, yeah, I'd rather have this group than the one that I drafted. I would say probably not. You know, I'm saying like if you could erase his mind and say you have no idea what these players are going to do this year, okay?
Right.
Now I'll give you your current roster and the one that you drafted. Which one would you rather have? I'm pretty sure that he would pick the one that he drafted because why the hell would he have drafted it otherwise? So the fact that he turned his team into this, it is really disappointing because this is his 6th season with us. I personally expected the same stuff to happen. I didn't want it to. I was hoping that he couldn't get I don't want to say the word manipulated, but I want to say influenced into deals that, firstly, we know that the hater move fell in your lap. You know what I mean? Like, that was you just picking up the phone and saying, like, I want to make a deal. And you said, all right, let's do it. And like, all of a sudden, Joe has another closer, a bona fide closer. And that was only one. Then obviously the Ellie Dela Cruz thing happened. Like there was a couple that you're just like, oh my God, like he has really, really restructured this entire team, and I just don't think it's for the better. Whereas you look on the other side, Costas, he's made 4 deals, I believe, and they've all been fairly successful deals. You want to say Olsen for Lindor now is looking bad? You probably would rather have Lindor, probably, but I saw that Costas was over it with Francisco Lindor in the beginning of the season. How could he not be? And a brilliant play by Jason to say, yeah, I'll take him while he's cold. Like, I'll buy low on that. You take Olsen. I didn't expect that to happen. I thought that that would really, really favor Costas. But every other deal, man, it seems to work in Costas's favor so far. So is it the actual roster even after the trade? Is it that he made him too late? Is it the way that he played his game against other opponents? Is it the fact that he should have probably beaten down on some of the guys that he didn't? He won 12-8 against Ari. He lost 13-7 against Mike Sherman. So when you win 12-8, you lose 13-7, you've kind of gone 500 against Ari and Sherman there. Not ideal. He finishes here with Jason Ashby, Mike Haber, Bryan Lebo, Henry Collins, myself, and Ari to finish. Like that he has Ari to finish, but it's really what he does in these next 5 weeks.
Yeah, he's got a window. I would say he's got a window, but it's closing very, very quickly, and he's got to put this thing in gear in order to get it to the promised land. I don't know that he's going to make it, but he does have a window. That's all I'll say.
And Frank?
Frank's been done for a couple of weeks, in my opinion, but the guy's never going to give up. He's never going to stop trying. So he's going to be one of the hardest outs week to week. And he's got some guys at the top of the standings that are going to try to beat down on him. And he's certainly going to try to play spoiler yet again.
Yeah.
But it's been a good season for Frank comparatively to years past, where he drove himself right into the basement with the trades. This one's not that case. He's sort of hovering around the end of the consolation bracket. So let's hope he can make it in there and maybe get a couple of more weeks to play.
I hope so.
Benji, thanks so much for being here with me, man. And I appreciate you sticking it out this week through the COVID bullshit with me.
You're very welcome, Joe. And listen, I was a little concerned about how to make up these days because Jason and I were trying to do something on Monday or Tuesday, but you were tough to reach, understandably. You had your own thing going on, and we just said, well, I hope that Joe is up to it when he comes back. We'll try to bang this all out. And we did it. So
we got it.
I'm very, very happy about that, man. So I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And then everyone just has to keep in mind now that that trade deadline is looming. Ours is a little bit later. So obviously, MLB's trade line is today. And for us, it's August 8th, which is actually not this Thursday, but next Thursday. So if you make a deal on August 8th, I will put it through on the following matchup for what I believe would be for week 18. Week 19. That would be the trade made for week 19. The trade would be made in week 18. So if you have it done on August 6th, that Tuesday, or August 5th, I will put it through immediately, or the following day. That same Tuesday rule goes. But August 8th is Thursday, and if a deal lands, it's going to be put through the following week. And so that's all I wanted to give you there, Joe. Appreciate everything that you do. You've made this league even more fun for everybody by putting this podcast together. And sometimes, we got to do the research and it feels like a little bit of work, but the guys really appreciate the work pays off.
We love doing the work for you guys. I appreciate being back and getting these 4 shows done over a 4-day period. I hope everybody else has enjoyed it. Lots to listen to, lots to talk about, and lots to come in the weeks that transpire. Benji, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being here and watching and listening. Until next time, guys, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.